If your automatic garage door opener was installed after your home was built, well, chances are there wasn't any power supply for it. So what was often done is an extension cord was run from the unit right here to the nearest outlet. Well, that's sort of the situation we're dealing with right here. This box is actually attached to the end of this flexible extension cord, which runs along this beam over here and down the wall here, across the wall, and down here. Now, the code says it's illegal to use an extension cord as a permanent source of wiring. And also, this is potentially dangerous. So what we want to do right now is fix it. As is always the case when working on an electrical circuit, we want to turn the power off. So I'm going to go upstairs to the circuit breaker. As you can see, we're energized right now. This is glowing red right here. Going upstairs to the circuit breaker and flip that breaker off. Okay, the power's off. There's no light going here. So now we can start to work. First thing I'm going to do is take off the switch plate. And then, of course, that means removing these two screws right here. Well, I'm just removing the last of the two screws that hold the switch in place. I'm going to just sort of pull everything out here. See, that wire just came loose there, all right? Now let's take a pair of cutters. Actually, I'm just going to snip these off a little bit faster. I want to get everything out of here. I also want to get rid of this wire right here. Let's pull everything out. There we go. It's just kind of a mess right now, but I'm not concerned about it. I just want to get everything out in the open. And this wire, hopefully now I can just pull out of there. There we go. Well, I patched up that hole where the extension cord came through to give us a neater repair here. Now, we're ready to start assembling our new circuitry going over here to the garage door opener. Take a look at this box right here. Now, this is what's called an extension box. Notice that there's no back on it. It's open here. But we're going to put this up in just a second. But before I do, let's take a screwdriver and remove this knockout on the side. Just hammer it through like that, grab a pair of pliers and twist it off. And then we're going to put this in connector. And it's a little bit easier to do this on these boxes while they're off the wall, although you can do it afterward. Now we're about to mount this extension box onto the original box here in the wall. These are the screws right here that would have held or did hold the old switch in place right there. So what we're going to do is slip this over the wire. Oh, one thing I'm going to change right here, I'm going to loosen this up just a little bit and turn this so that the screw is up like that. I think that'll be better for us. We can still reach it, but it's sort of out of our way. It's not really sticking down into or sticking out away from the wall. Just tightened up here. There we go. Okay, now slip this over here. The slot up on the top of this box goes over the upper screw. The slotted hole in the bottom goes over the bottom one. And we'll just tighten that up with a screwdriver. Now this is called thin wall electrical conduit, also sometimes called EMT for electromechanical tubing. Its job is to protect wires that run inside of it, in much the same way that the plastic covering on Romex protects the wires that run inside it. However, if you're running wiring where you can touch it, as we are today here, you can't use the Romex. You have to use the metal because it gives you an added measure of protection. Now to cut this conduit, you can use a hacksaw blade. About a 24-tooth blade works about the best. And just get a grip on it, a couple sawhorses, and cut away. Once you've cut the conduit, remove any burrs from the inside with a rat tail file. Because there are no electrical outlets along this wall, we're going to take advantage of the fact that we're installing a new line to add a receptacle right here for workbench tools. Metal conduit should be installed flat up against the wall so that it can be secured with these clips at regular intervals. However, when you're attaching the conduit to a box, you run into a problem because the connectors on the box are offset from the wall about 1/2 inch. Now, there are a couple ways to deal with this. One is to use an offset connector, like this one, and the other is to bend the conduit itself. This is a conduit bender. We're going to use this to put that offset bend in the pipe. And for this kind of bend, we're going to place the pipe so just about 1/2 inch or so is sticking out, maybe a little bit less. That's about 3/4 of an inch. Okay? And then I'm going to stand up, put my foot on this part of the bender, and we're going to bend this up just a little bit. That's it right there. Then we're going to slide this pipe forward to reverse the bend, just about like that. Okay, then bend it back. Oops, slip a little bit there. It'll be exactly reversed here. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to bend it back in this direction. All right, now let's take a look. See? There's our offset. Well, there's our offset bend right there. I've attached our first box in place. I got to tell you, the offset bend is a little bit tricky. You might want to take some scrap pieces of pipe and practice a bit, or use this offset connector right here. Now, I've also bent a second piece of pipe right here into a 90-degree angle. That's going to go from the top of this box right here up to the ceiling. Now, it's very important that that bend up there be made at just the right place so this will fit. Now, let me show you how to do that. Let's suppose that we want to make a piece of pipe that's exactly 30 inches from the end to the outside of the bend. Well, we'll start out by coming down here our 30 inches, making a mark. Okay, and then we're going to back off 5 inches. In this case, that would put us down here to 25 inches. Right there, make a second mark. All right. Now, we're going to take our pipe bender. Now, this has two sides to it. This is called the working end over here. This is a little sort of tread here where you put your foot. We want to put the working end toward the direction from which we took the measurement. And we're going to align that mark, remember that's 5 inches short, with this arrow right here on the pipe bender, like that. Okay? Now, we'll begin to bend this. I'll plant my foot here and pull up on the handle at the same time. This will start to bend up. I see that level down there. We want to keep going, and assuming that we're on a level surface, when that bubble gets between those two black lines, we'll have a 90-degree angle. A conduit typically comes in 10-foot lengths, so if your run is more than that, you're going to need to connect sections together. And to do that, you'll want to use something like this. This is called a set screw coupling. One is going to go on this conduit, and the other on this one. And then we'll tighten up those set screws with a screwdriver. If you're working outside, you'll want to use a water-type, compression-type coupling. Conduit needs to be secured with straps, something like these, within 3 feet of every box and every 10 feet on a straight run. Now, if you're securing it into a sheetrock ceiling or a sheetrock wall like we are here, this is probably the easiest way to do it. This is a threaded anchor, and it goes right into the, it makes its own hole, drills its own hole, kind of pulls itself right into the sheetrock. Yep, like that. And then take a screw, put it through the strap. Actually, let's put the strap over the conduit. That'll be easier. Kind of, it'll hold itself on there. There we go. And put a screw through the strap hole, right into the anchor, and attach everything in place. Well, I've put in our last box here, just tightening up the set screw on the connector. Now that completes all of our conduit. Next step is going to be to start putting the wire inside the conduit. And to do that, I'm going to need this tool right here. Get it out, bring it around where you can see it. This is called an electrician's fish tape. It's about 50 or 100 feet of fairly stiff wire with a special connector on the end here. I'll show you more about that in a moment. For the time being, though, what we're going to do is push the end of this wire into the end of this conduit right here and start feeding it through. Now it's going to go all the way across the ceiling, over there to the wall, make that 90-degree bend, and then, hopefully, end up in that box down there above the workbench. There it is. Let's pull the end of this fish tape out of the box. Leave it there for just a moment. Now these are the wires that are going inside the conduit, a white, a black, and a ground. And you notice what I've done here is I've sort of staggered them, laid them beside each other, and I've staggered them so that when they go through, they'll be a little bit less bulky. And I'm now going to wrap them with some electrician's tape. It's just wind up here to the end of the white one there. Okay, and we'll pull this off, make that tight. All right, so it gives us a nice taper. It makes it easier to go through the conduit itself. And then we'll take the one wire here, hook it through the fish tape. Let's put a little twist on it. I'll get my pliers on here. Oops. Could have made that just a little bit longer. Okay, there we go. There's our twist. All right, now let's kind of ease this back up in here just a little bit, get it started. And I'm going to go back over to the other side now and grab that fish tape and pull this through, okay? There they go. There we go right there, all right? Now we'll just cut this off with a pair of cutters and go back over to the workbench side. Well, I've also run the wires in this section of conduit right here, which goes from this box over to that switch by the door. And I was going to start installing the first of our receptacles, which is actually this GFCI switch, or ground fault circuit interrupter. It's designed to protect you from electrical shock, and it's now required in all receptacles in garages. However, I've run into a problem. You see how bulky this is compared to a standard receptacle? Well, it actually is too large to fit in this box. It's hitting on the end of the connector right here. I can't make it go in. So I'm going to have to go back and change this to a larger size box. Well, I changed out that box. That was my mistake, but this will work just fine. And I'm attaching to the front of it something called a plaster ring. Actually, I'm using it more as an adapter now to bring it back to a single receptacle. Now, let's go ahead and finish up wiring our GFCI. I've cut these wires a little bit long here. I'm going to kind of wrap them around the terminals using a pair of needle nose pliers. These are a little bit tough sometimes because they're sort of recessed up in there. There we go. We'll wrap it around like that. Now, you notice when you're wrapping them around a terminal like this, you always want to wrap the wire in a clockwise direction. That's so that when you tighten it, like I'm doing right now, it'll actually sort of tighten that loop up instead of loosening it. And we can snip off some of the excess in here. There we go. All right. Now, of course, when you buy a GFCI, you want to read the directions that come with it as far as wiring goes. A couple of important points. The two wires that are coming from over here that are providing current to this GFCI are these two wires right here. They have to be attached to a particular set of terminals. In this case, it's the two on the bottom. The wires that are going from here to our garage door opener have to also be attached to a particular set of terminals, in this case, the ones on top. What's important with a GFCI is that these two sets of wires go on the correct terminals. All right, so let's go ahead and fold this. Our ground wires, by the way, I've just hooked together like that. Let's fold these wires up very carefully. Just ease this back into our box. Well, I've just about finished the wiring here at the switch where we started originally, and without trying to confuse you too much, let me show you what we've got here. This black wire right here is bringing current to the box. This black wire is taking it up to that new receptacle for the garage door opener. Those have been bundled together with a wire nut, and they've added a pigtail right here. Now, this is going to provide power to our switch, which in turn will control a light mounted outside the door here. This black wire will carry that current to the door, or to the lights outside the door, when the switch is flipped on. Now, in addition, I've bundled all the whites together and all the grounds together, and I've grounded this also to the box, so that now the boxes and the conduit will act as a secondary ground. Well, I've installed the new receptacle here above our garage door openers. Let's go ahead and plug that in. There we go. And that pretty much finishes up the job. Except I want to check a couple of things. Now, come over here with me if you would. This is the new GFCI receptacle that we put in earlier. I want to first of all test this to make sure the GFCI is working. Now, to do that, I'm going to press this black button on the bottom of the GFCI. If it's working properly, that red button should pop out like it just did. So to reset this, we'll press the red button back in. Now, I also want to test to see if this is wired properly. That's what this little device is for. So I'll plug this in. There are two yellow lights on the right. These two right here. They're lighting. That means that the polarity is correct and the ground is working. So the new system is in, all set to go. And as you can see, it's a lot more attractive, better looking, than this old cord was. But more importantly, it complies with code and it's much safer.